WABCRadio.com.
You know, Bern, I know to this day you still miss Anthony Bourdain, God rest his soul. And
I do.
I know you do. And one of the great parts of his show was he would travel to parts unknown all over the world, and you kind of get a flavor of what's going on there.
Exactly right.
So I got to think if you really enjoyed Anthony, which I know you did, you're going to love the new Sanjay Gupta show, which does premiere tomorrow, Saturday, April the 13th on CNN. It's called Chasing Life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta. He'll go everywhere: Japan, India, Bolivia, Norway, Italy, Turkey. He's an award-winning journalist, a practicing neurosurgeon. He's been on the show before. He's actually a very entertaining guy with a brand new series. Congratulations, Dr. Sanjay Gupta. Welcome back, pal.
Wow, thank you very much. It's bringing me out big. I appreciate it.
It's the best. That was the best introduction you've ever gotten, yes?
That's really nice.
It's a top 5, top 3 even.
top 3, yeah.
No, but I was serious. You know, Bernie, my partner here, really loved Anthony. And millions did, by the way. He's not alone. But part of the beauty of that show was all these places he would go. And you're going to kind of be doing the same thing in an effort to find a better life, right? Chasing the better life.
Yeah, that's right. And look, you know, I mean, talk about Anthony. You know, everyone loves Anthony. No one can ever do what Anthony did, but because he set the standard. You know, I mean, obviously. But I think the idea of being able to travel around the world, you know, and truly immerse yourself in these places. You know, oftentimes you parachute in for a few days. You don't really get a feel of the place. And so here we spent like real time, you know, weeks and weeks in these places, really trying to understand them, and specifically with regard to health practices, because that's what I'm focused on. Are there places around the world we can learn from?
Exactly, and one of those places, Sanjay, and I believe that tomorrow's episode focuses on Japan, which has a longer than average lifespan, and it would be interesting to see what accounts for that. Is it the acupuncture, that they eat fish instead of meat, or is the cultural influences? What is it?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. First of all, like when you think of Japan, the mainland of Japan versus Okinawa, the mainland of Japan turns out to be one of the most stressed countries in the world now. I mean, they had this explosive growth after World War II, you know, just building after building going up, and very hard to sustain that growth, a lot of pressure on the younger generations, and it's stressed, man. I'll tell you, suicides have gone up tremendously, especially among young people there. And so Japan ends up being a country that's a real juxtaposition, because as you say, Okinawa, which is this chain of islands off the coast, has some of the highest life expectancy in the world. And a lot of it has to do with their, as you say, their diet, their sense of purpose in life, not only what they eat, but how they eat. They practice this thing called harahachi-bu, which basically means they push the plate away when they're 80% full. And as a result, you know, it's a form of caloric restriction that they've been practicing for hundreds of years.
Wow.
And there's all these various things, but it was the stress in the mainland that really surprised me. You know, I'd lived in Japan when I was younger, and you see now the impact of explosive growth that's hard to sustain.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta. So it looks like, Dr. Gupta, that you'll be doing a 1-hour show starting at 9, but I guess the premiere will be 2 hours tomorrow night. Is that right?
That's right. So
okay.
We do Japan at 9 and then India at 10.
Well, tell us about India. That's a very interesting place. I've always wanted to go there. I know that they've got their own different styles and techniques when it comes to health, and certainly many of us here in the United States like to do yoga, and that's one of the things, I guess, that keep the Indian people in good shape.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I spent some time, first of all, with the Prime Minister, because he's got the world's largest democracy. He's got to figure out how to care for the health of over 1 billion people. And it's just fascinating to talk to a leader who that's one of his biggest challenges. But yeah, you know, besides the things that we hear about yoga, for example, I think what really fascinated me was what's known as the Ayurvedic diet. You know, typically eaten in the southwest of India in a place called Kerala. And what fascinated me about it was just how it came about. You know, you think, okay, how does a culture develop a diet? You know, most countries, it's palate. How does the food taste? Things like mouthfeel, whatever it might be. In India, you know, thousands of years ago when they were developing diet, it was really about figuring out the functionality of the food. What does this morsel of food that I'm about to put in me, what's the function of it? What is it that I should eat? When is it that I should eat? And how are we different? You know, what is going to work for you is going to be different for me and for somebody else. So that notion of food as medicine is something that we talk about a lot, but here we got to see it actually, the origins of it. Like, where did it come from? And by the way, it's really tasty as well, but the palate part of it came second. What drove the creation of the diet was functionality. That may sound like a very simple concept, but they're one of the few places in the world that's doing this, and they've been doing it for thousands of years.
And listen, after you go to India, the following week's going to be Bolivia, Norway, Italy, Turkey, as alluded to. But my question to you is, what did you learn? I mean, did you change your eating habits because of some of these places you visited, Dr. Sanjay Gupta?
Yeah, I definitely changed the way that I eat. I'm certainly much more thoughtful about why I'm putting what calories into my body. I've changed the way that I'm active. I mean, the human body wasn't designed to sit or lie for 23 hours a day and then get up and go to the gym for an hour. You know, some of the healthiest people in the world, they don't go to gyms, they don't intensely exercise, but they move all day, and that's just the way the human body was designed. I think one of the big things that surprised me a little bit was, look, in the United States, we spend $3.5 trillion on health care. It's a staggering amount of money, and life expectancy has dropped 3 years in a row. Now, there are other countries around the world that are similar to the United States. They've gone through similar economic challenges, labor force challenges. They have similar lifestyle in terms of food and fast food and all that. So why do they continue to increase in life expectancy while we decrease? And I think one of the things that really kept jumping out in all these places was the value of social cohesion, which I realize sounds kind of squishy even as I say it. But this idea that in the United States, rugged individualism became sort of the aspiration and the mantra, go it alone, that sort of thing. That's, humans are social creatures in places that continue to improve in terms of life expectancy. One of the big distinguishing factors is sustained investment in community. Italy, healthiest country in the world. They drink, they smoke, their food, they eat all kinds of food. They're not known for exercise, and they are the healthiest country in the world.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why is that? What is it about Italy? Even if you look at Italian immigrants that have lived in small communities within the United States, again, the cholesterol levels might be high, they eat fatty foods, whatever, and they have some of the lowest rates of heart disease in the United States. Why is that? I think those are questions worth answering.
Well, I think when you think about it, right? I mean, diet is obvious, exercise is obvious. I don't know the answer to this. You've traveled the world. I haven't. I have to imagine, Sanjay, that in terms of the phone, sticking our faces in these electronic devices, something we talk about all the time, that we do that way more often here than any other country in the world. And I got to believe you're talking about being social, and the way you eat and exercise. I got to believe spending all that time with our equipment is one of the reasons why we are who we are.
I absolutely agree, and I think about my own kids and the fact that they've never lived a life without these devices. That kids who were born after 2005 are fundamentally completely different than kids who were born before.
By the way, mine too. But when I try to explain to my son Sanjay that there was a time where I'd go outside for 3 hours and throw a Spalding ball off a stoop, and I'd love it, he'd go, "Dad, are you nuts?"
Right. It's interesting because we saw that sort of activity as just a form of enjoyment, a form of recreation. I think what we're now realizing, in part because people don't do it as much, was that there were measurable, objective benefits to that, to body, in terms of physical activity, but also to the brain. And that sounds, we never had to think about it. It was just a part of life. But now that people aren't doing it, we see the changes that are happening because of that. I mean, do you know that 12th graders now are less likely to go out than 8th graders did a generation ago? Wow. They're less likely to drink, they're less likely to drive, they're less likely to go to prom. So in many ways, they're physically safer, but mentally, they're sitting in their houses, on their devices.
Yep.
We have no idea what the impact of that's going to be. It's not social. Right? I mean, people say, well, that's another form of social. I don't think so.
No.
By the way, listen, we're out of time, Sanjay Gupta. The series is called Chasing Life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta, and I understand it premieres tomorrow night, Saturday night on CNN, but I understand you appear shirtless a lot. And I won't give it away now. I'm interested to see if we're going to see a flabby.
Hey, we're trying to get people to watch the show here.
Okay, all right. I'm waiting to do push-ups before you go on camera.
That's funny.
Of course, you got to. Absolutely.
Hey, listen, Dr. Gupta, thank you so much. We look forward to this fascinating series.
Thanks so much, guys. Always enjoy talking to you.
Yeah, we
Bye-bye.
too. Same thing. Again, Chasing Life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta. The premiere is tomorrow. It's a 2-hour premiere. And as Bernie pointed out, and I did, he'll be in both Japan and India tomorrow night. More places to come. 1-800-848-WABC. We close shop. Another week of Bernie and Sid right after these words.